Welcome to another episode of Prisoner to Billionaire. This one is entitled The More In-Depth Introduction. Based off of the last time, I had a few technical difficulties. I don't know exactly how long this one gonna last either. I gotta put some more storage on my phone or whatnot. I'm not too tech savvy right as of now because like I said, in the first one I've been there for 27 years, so I ain't fresh out, but I'm fresh out to technology. So I'm learning as I go, and if this one gets cut off before I can finish what I'm saying, then I apologize again, and I'm gonna keep working until I get it right. I think I left off on the last one where I was saying that I had to become a man because my step house was locked up, my mom was on drugs or whatnot, and I got three sisters under me and one little brother too. So, you know, like me being in the streets, I grew up around hood stuff. You know what I mean? Like on my mom's side, my grandpa was a preacher. My grandma, she might as well been a preacher. But on my daddy's side, that was the hood side. And we, like my mama and my daddy got married and they started their life. And, most of the time, I don't know, in different areas or whatnot, or different families or whatnot, my mama ended up migrating to my daddy's side of the family. And my mom got five sisters and one little brother. He rests in peace. He got killed by the police a long time ago. And that was the only boy, that, so that kind of affected the whole family. I was locked up already, so I didn't expect it. I didn't even hear about it till later on because they didn't want me to get in trouble while I was up in there. They just told me that he passed away and they tell me what happened. Anyway, let me get back to who I am. I grew up pretty much in the streets. My grandma, like my daddy, mama, and her house was pretty much the neighborhood because all my daddy old homeboys, they used to always be over there kicking it or whatnot, trying to make sure my grandma was okay. And then she also used to feed all of the homeless, the winos, the drug addicts or whatnot. I used to get teased when I was little, people be talking about, oh, that's your uncle, that's your auntie, such and such, because they seen all the people at our house or whatnot. But it was what it was. I wasn't good at joking, but I was good at fighting. So eventually people stopped teasing me for certain little stuff. I was a little chubby kid too, so they used to tease me about that too. But like I don't know if I said it already, probably didn't because the other episode wasn't that long. But I say that everything's happened for a good reason, and I believe that because even with me being down for 27 years of my life, I was a different person before I went in, and I matured while I was in there and became capable of being the man that I am since I've been home. And one thing that bothered me a lot was not being there for my kids because I always promised myself that I was going to be there for my kids because my daddy wasn't there for me. It wasn't like he didn't make a choice, a bad decision to not be there for me. He ended up getting in a car accident one night, and he got stuck up on the steering wheel. The car caught on fire or whatnot. But me growing up, I didn't have that male role model. I had my grandpa, but he was a preacher, so he wasn't really in the streets, and we didn't really kick it with that side of the family that much until my mama started doing bad. Then we end up moving out there with my grandma and my grandpa on her side. But then it's like we was the outcast because my like it's three was like in their family like a little separated. You had the good three and you had the in the street three, which was my auntie, my mama, and my uncle. But my uncle was a baby and he was the only boy, so he got treated a little different. But my auntie and my mama, they was kind of like in the streets or whatnot, and they didn't get the love that the other three got, in my opinion. And I'm pretty sure that my auntie, she rests in peace too, but my mama, she's still here, and I'm pretty sure she would say the same thing. So I'll just say it for her. But me growing up, I used to get my ass beat, like, because I stayed in trouble. Like, I always got in fights at school because my little sister under me, she, like, she used to get into it. She wasn't a fighter like that, and ain't nobody mess with my family. Ain't nobody mess with not just my little sister, but my entire family as far as I'm concerned. I don't care if I get whooped on, whatnot, jump, whatever. I'm still gonna go after whoever come after my family. And that's just how I always been, even though we might be, me and my mama might not be getting together, but you better not say nothing bad to my mama. You know what I mean? That's my mama. I don't care what you talking about. So it was what it was. I think I told y'all that I went to prison at the age of 18. I got locked up at the age of 18. I ended up in prison at 19. I did 27 years straight. My oldest son was born like a year and a half before I went to prison, and before I went to the county jail. And my younger son, he was born while I was in the county jail. So I ended up missing all of that time with them, and that still bothers me to this day. But I look back at the person that I was then compared to the person that I was capable of being to them while I was in there, and the person that I became since I've been out. Not just them, but my little brother and my sisters and all that, because ain't none of them been in jail. They kind of doing good. But the person that I was before, I was kind of influencing them to want to do what I did and what I was out there doing. But with me being gone and understanding that what I was going through, I didn't want them to have to go through that stuff. I started to kind of like teach different. Like, say, even like my mom used to tell me, do as I say, not as I do. And I pretty much was doing the same thing from where I was at. Like, I was doing what I was doing up in there, but I was trying to teach them something different, tell them something different, so that they wouldn't want to become in the person that I had became. I didn't want them to end up being my cellies. You know what I mean? I didn't want them to end up in prison or dead out there, because that would have been worse than me going to prison and not being there. So I feel like my higher power, which is God, I feel like he took me away so that way they could become a bit better than I was. Not only that, it was like all the stuff I feel like I went through in my childhood, because I went through a whole lot. And over time, you will hear about it as I'm continuing to upload these podcasts or whatever you want to call them. You would see my journey from childhood on up into the person that I become now. And like, I feel like I had to go through those things prior to me going to jail, because it prepared me to be in prison. Like, it made me tough. It made me not afraid to go in there and fight, and not afraid to protect myself or do what I had to do to survive up in there. Because I'm pretty sure y'all done seen some of these platforms where people getting victimized and all that type of stuff. I was 19, fresh 19 when I went to prison. And when I went to prison, it ain't like it is now. Back then, it wasn't the toughest prison that you see like on the movies and whatnot, because that was a little prior before me. That's where everything was rough. But it was still on that level. Like, it was just calming down a little bit from that. I ain't gonna, because I know what the OGs that came before me had to go through, and I ain't gonna try to say that I was there during that time. No, but I was there during the time right after that, so it wasn't too much different. You know what I mean? It was a lot different, but it wasn't too much different, if that makes sense. But I was capable of going there and becoming like a man. And not becoming nothing other than that. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times people be saying that people go in there, and if they've been in there with life or been in there for a long time, they become homosexuals or whatnot. I don't have no problem with no homosexuals. I ain't saying that, but that ain't me. You know what I mean?